welcome to episode 48 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 6th of September 2018, so I hope you've had a lovely couple of weeks since I last chatted to you. So today I've got some knitting, some crochet, some sewing, a normal blast from the past and gadget, and a little bit of confession. And I've got some information in my shop update at the end of the podcast. So, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry and Facebook and things as Craft House Magic, but I will leave a link down below to those. So I was talking last time about organising a monthly meetup in Norwich, and I mentioned that I thought that Heatherset might be a good place to go, but I went and visited a couple of venues there, and I don't think that they either didn't have enough parking, or they didn't have the right facilities, or cake. Because you have to have cake at a meetup. So I haven't quite decided where to have it yet, but if you do have any suggestions that has loads of lovely parking, it would be brilliant. So we've got two craft alongs going on at the moment. The swim along, which is where we're knitting the Goldfish Memories shawl by Casapinka, and I shall show you mine in a little bit. But we've got 3 prizes now for that. So I've already showed you a lovely skein from Fee from Flourish Fibres, which is a lovely grey in a beautiful sparkly yarn in a colourway called Storm Kitten, and that's lovely because she hand dyes her yarns with all natural dyes. We've also got a pattern prize, which you can choose any pattern you want to, under $10 on Ravelry, but also Jill from Bertie and Poppet has offered us a bag to give away, so I shall pop a picture up of it here because I'm collecting it from her Midlands monthly meetup in October, so I'll be able to collect it there and I'll show you when I've got it. So that's a lovely bag, Jill. Thank you so much. It's got some really nice fishies and sharks and little turtles on there. It's so cute. Thank you. So 3 prizes. So don't forget to come and join in if you're thinking about knitting your Goldfish Memories shawl. So when I actually have the sort of finished objects thread, you won't actually have to have finished your shawl. It just show a reasonable amount of progress to be entered for the prize draw, but we've got a discussion thread going on at the moment, so come and have a look and you can see how people are getting on with their shawls with different colourways. So we've also got the Christmas craft along. I've recently just drawn prizes for the end of August, and the prizes for September will be an advent calendar that I'll make from my leftover stash, so it'll be little 5 gram minimies for the whole of like a 24-day advent calendar, and I'll pop some little stitch markers and things in there as well, so that'll be a nice surprise for people to open one every day for the run up to Christmas. And I'm also going to give a prize of one of my Christmas yarns, my Christmas colourways that you can choose. I've got 3 at the moment, but I shall show you one of the newer ones at the end of the podcast with my shop update information. So that'll be another prize, and that'll be for the September. So anybody who chats away in the Christmas craft along thread, anything to do with any sort of craft, to do with Christmas gifts or anything Christmas related, I'd love to hear from you, and I'm just going to draw a random winner, whether it's just a comment or an actual object that you've been working on. So you don't actually have to put in finished objects thread or anything. I'm just drawing from the discussion thread for those prizes, and those 2 prizes will be for the end of September. I'll do those. Last week I uploaded a video on my experiences at the Festival of Quilts, if you'd like to see that. I'll pop a link down below if you want to find that as well. So it's a little while since we went, but it took me a little while to edit the actual footage that we got, but there was so many lovely quilts. So let's get into the knitting section. I have actually got some finished objects, only just. I literally finished these last night. So these socks are my socks that I knitted from Lollipop yarn. So the Lollipop yarn that I got from my lovely friend Terry. Thank you, Terry. And this is the label from the little gobstopper ball I had. And there's a large gobstopper ball, which I've used quite a lot of. And it came with a little mini here. And there's 6 rows of Freeze, Arctic and Deep Chill, and they're surrounded by 4 rows of Sleet, which I think is the grey. And then the contrast mini, which I've used for heels and contrast toes, is in the deep chill colourway. And the lollipop yarn is a 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon, and it's a 2-ply high twist yarn, and it comes out as quite a nice sturdy sock. I've done top down with a 2x2 rib. I basically did my simple top down sock but with the heel from my toe up, because I wanted to do a short row heel so that I wouldn't interrupt the stripes here. And the heel from the toe up sock can be used in a top down and a toe up because it's a symmetrical heel. And those two patterns are free, and I've got tutorials along with those as well, which I'll leave links down below. And I really like this self-striping yarn. It's nice, it keeps you interested because of the different blues, but it's also quite a sort of manly yarn. There's not too much pattern going on there, and it's going to be a gift knit, so that's one thing ticked off my Christmas gift list, and I've got 2 there, so that's that done. So I've still got quite a lot there. I did weigh it yesterday, and I think I've got about 46 grams of the main colour left out of 100 grams. And then out of the 25 gram mini, I'd got 15 left. So I've potentially got enough yarn for another pair of socks there. So we'll see. But I'm dying to cast on some other yarn, so I'll probably do that first before I go back to that. So that's one thing done. I also got another finished object, and I actually finished this ages ago. I completely forgot about it. So at Fibre East I went to, I can't remember what month Fibre East is in. I think it's July, yes. I just lose track when each of these shows are on. So I picked up a little kit for doing a Christmas robin, and it's from a shop called the Knitting Gift Shop, and this was a stall at Fibre East, and this is the packaging it came in, and it came in a lovely little bag. So this is my finished object, and it's a little cute little robin that you knit a little jumper for. So it did actually come with like a purple yarn to knit the jumper with, but I thought that because the little cord was a burgundy, that I'd actually just pick some burgundy yarn out of my stash to knit him a little jumper to match, and I think that's really lovely. Being a robin, I thought burgundy would be perfect, and it came with these really cute little charms and bells, as well as this little sort of a laser cut robin, so I'm really chuffed about that. I should have got some more but that's sort of ideas as what you can sort of create yourself. I suppose if you cut out, if you had the ability to cut out the wood yourself, you could do all sorts of shapes and make little jumpers for them. So there we go. That's another finished object, all ready to go on the Christmas tree. So I suppose you could have him hanging up all year round, really. He's not super duper Christmas, but I suppose there is a sort of a snowflake on there. Those are my finished objects for this time, and I've got some works in progress, but this time I've been really busy organising things for our local quilt show, so I haven't had a lot of time in the evenings to get stuff done, but I will show you what I have been working on. So I've been working on my Goldfish Memories shawl, and this is what I've got so far. It's pretty long now, so I think this was, so that's section 1. Section 2 is like garter stitch. Section 3 there's some slip stitches. Section 4 was these sections with small slip stitches and stripes. And then since the last time I've done section 5, which is these stripes with some garter ridges in, and section 6, I can't, stitch and 6 mixed together. Oh dear. Is some stripy sections just with the blue and the speckly blue and cream base there. So I've been using my own yarn, and these are Love is a Battlefield, and that's coming up a little bit lighter than it is in real life, but it's a sort of turquoisey bluey green with some darker speckles in there. And then I've got La Isla Bonita, which is a pale creamy base with some speckles of the bluey green in there as well to match that one. And then my third colour I'm using is Here Comes the Rain again, and those three I thought looked really nice together. I have actually popped some more kits for these in the shop if you're after getting a kit for the Goldfish Memories shawl, and they're in the shop now if you're interested. So absolutely loving how long this is so far. So I'm actually on section 6, I've just finished, so I am halfway through the shawl and it's already coming up quite big, and once I've blocked that I think that'll be lovely. I really like how these tiny little stripes look. I think they're really pretty, and I can't wait to get onto the lace section next. I have actually sewed in all my ends because they were really getting on my nerves. There wasn't an awful lot. I shall show you the back of the work as well. So I have actually spent, I think it was an hour, sewing all the ends in at the side, but I was being a bit fussy about actually not running ends down the sides as much as I probably could have done, so I had more ends to sew in. Oh, and I forgot to say on this section, section 5, some sections I did more of the stocking stitch between the grey sections, just because I forgot to count how many rows I was doing. And I thought, oh, it'll just make it a bit more individual. I'm not sure if you can really tell on the camera. We'll see. But that meant that it was more difficult for me to run the grey yarn up the side of the work. So there we go. So I'm so pleased that I've sewed all the ends, and it just makes the job at the end, when I finish the shawl, I'll only have half of the ends to sew in. So that's fun. So thank you for joining in if you've been knitting the Goldfish Memories shawl with me. It's going to be such a lovely cosy knit. Right. This is the only other thing that I've been working on, just because I can't stop, well, in terms of knitting anyway, I can't stop knitting little squares for things. So I've nearly done, well, I've done just over another half a row of my Cozy Memories blanket. I think last time I showed it to you, I'd got up to here, and I've knitted those 2 squares on the end. I've lost the label to this one, but it was one of my little minis I had in the Christmas Advent swap last year. And this one is fondant fibre in the cardinal colourway, and that's a lovely bright pink. And then I've done, I think, how many squares? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on this row since the last time I saw you. This one's fondant fibre, You're My Hero. This one is, do you know, my friend Jean gave me this one and I completely forgot what it is, but thank you, Jean. So that's the yarn you gave me last week. This one is fondant fibre, and it was part of a Christmas mini set in 2016. This one is also fondant fibre, and it's You Shall Go to the Ball. This one's another one from Lay Family Yarns. This one is Cascade Heritage in the Anise colourway, and lastly we've got an Irish yarns there, and I just run a little bit short, so I put a little bit of burgundy in there, and it's basically the same yarn as I used for my little bird to finish it off, but I don't mind too much. So I've got 5 squares until the end of that row, and I was tempted just to finish that off, but then I thought I'm just going to spend all my life knitting on my Cozy Memories blanket, and I needed to get some other projects, a bit of work done, so I've got stuff to show you guys. So I've got a serious Cozy Memories blanket addiction. Oh dear. Right. Oh, I should show you how it looks actually. It's not much bigger than the last time, but you can see that it's really growing now, and it's really nice and warm on my lap when I'm knitting on it. It's going to be so nice in the winter. I'm knitting on little squares and keeping warm. Adam's going to be so jealous that it won't be big enough to go onto him. Although I have got other blankets that he always knits for himself. Right, I have a little bit of crochet. Now I haven't actually joined these squares onto my Battenberg blanket, but I have a stack of Battenberg squares that I want to add to my Battenberg blanket. I'll just give you a quick glance. This is exactly the same as what I showed you last time though. So that's how I'm adding squares onto it on the diagonal, and I've got enough nearly for 2 rows on there. So once I've done all the coloured squares, I'll then start joining them on with the cream coloured ones. I'll just show you a couple of these. This one is Fleur Delacour, I think, from Nora George. I did a few squares that I'd knitted. So these are from a Knit Picks Felici self-striping yarn, and I managed to get a square out of each colour repeat so that there was different colours there, so that's nice. And I think that is the perfect sort of tones for this blanket. I'm trying to go for sort of pastel-y colours, not too bright. So I have actually crocheted a few, which I decided in the end were too dark. And I think there's a confetti, and this is by Peggy May Yarns. And I think this one was another fondant fibre, but I can't remember what the colourway was called. It was in one of the mini skeins kits. Anyway, I shall not go through all of the colourways because I'll be here all day. And plus I can't remember. They're just tiny little scraps that I have not labelled from the last time I used them. So there we go. That's all my sort of fibrey yarny related craftiness. And I shall go on to a bit of sewing. So in my sewing section, I've been making some owls, and I've made a little baby and like a mummy owl. The mummy one is a bit on the wonk, but it's all to do with personality. And these are made from a pattern that my friend downloaded from the internet ages ago. It was a free pattern. And unfortunately, I can't find the English instructions and pattern pieces from the site that she's actually got them from in the first place. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'll actually do a little mini tutorial next week of how to construct these. They're really, really simple and really fun to make. And I've also adapted it. So the original pattern was only this very small size, but then I've adapted it. Me and my friend Maureen adapted the pattern to make a larger one as well. So I'll do a tutorial next week, and I will make sure that you can have a downloadable worksheet where you've got the pattern pieces for both of these as well from next week. So watch this space. If you know of where the original pattern comes from, let me know, and I'll pop a link below to that as well. But I know that this larger size at least is what we've adapted from this smaller one, so at least you'll be able to do this size as well. So I used a Liberty cotton lawn to do his tummy, and then I've used a sort of a Hessian fabric that I had in my stash just to do his back, and I think that looks quite a nice contrast between the rustic and the pretty little fabric. And he's got little eyes made of buttons, and then you just need a little bit of embroidery floss just to sew his little nose in there. But I will obviously tell you a bit more about them in the tutorial next week. I was actually doing a little tutorial for my local quilt group with these, so I spent a little time making duplicates of these. So I think what I'll do is I'll give little pairs of these away in the Christmas craft along in the next coming months, probably in October. So if you do want to sort of win a set of these, don't forget to join in that month into the Christmas craft along. Right, so I have been working on my quilt that I'd started just before the last episode. I've been doing all the half square triangles. I have actually joined them all into strips. I just need to join the strips together and actually quilt it. So this weekend I've allocated some time to actually finish it, because we're doing a quilt show on the 22nd and 23rd of this month. Which I'm going to display it, so I need to get a move on. It's nothing like leaving things till the last minute. I shall show you one of the strips I've joined together, so you can see how I've joined them in together so far. And I just need to put the strips together in the right order, because they need to be in the right orientation. You can see that this is making sort of a diamond shape there. I shall pop a picture up and show you what my layout was of my pieces that I placed all on the floor to decide where to put all the different blocks. And I popped this picture on Instagram, so it's a good idea to follow me on Instagram if you want to see little updates of my progress between podcasts. So there we go. Hopefully I haven't put them out of order now, because they're aligned, all ready to be sewn up. So I am making progress, and hopefully I will actually get it finished for the quilt show. So I'm going to do some nice simple straight line quilting on this, because I think that it'll really be nice just to not to detract too much from the pattern pieces. What I'm going to do is make it into a large sort of double size quilt to go in my spare room, so that will be nice. Although alternatively I'll probably end up leaving it in the living room and using it to put on our laps when we're watching the TV. Adam will certainly want it down there when I've got my Cozy Memories blanket knitting away. So that's all my sewing for this time. Don't worry, Barbara will be in a little while. So I'm going to have my blast from the past section now. Come on then, Barbara, show us what you got on. Oh, Barbara, those cables. I love cables. I should really do a lot more of them. So this pattern is the Catriona pattern by Debbie Bliss, and I picked this like little booklet up from my local knitting shop, and I saw this pattern on the front and I fell in love with it. And it's a DK pattern, and I did it in Stylecraft Luxury Wool Rich DK in the colour Petrol 2463. And I really like the colour and the way it looks, but I just haven't worn it very much, just simply because I think I need a shirt like this to go underneath it, really, because I've been wearing it with long sleeve t-shirts and I just don't think it looked quite right. But I think it'd look nice with some sort of collar around the neck here rather than just another V-neck, which I was wearing it with. So I must get around to making a shirt at one time. I wonder if the Carly pattern, I think it's closet case patterns, I'll have to look it up, might fit round there, because I've been meaning to make one of those for ages as well. Anyway, I digress. So the yarn has quite a lot of acrylic content. I don't know whether it was 60%. I will check and pop it on the screen for you. So I think it's 60% acrylic and 40% wool, and at the time I was concerned about having to wash things and making sure that it was machine washable. But I think now that I'd go for a higher wool content, if I'm going to spend all that time doing all those cables. I think you get more of a luxury feel if you've got a nice wool, a nice high wool content there. So I think I'd actually knit this again, actually. It's got some beautiful cables on there. And I wonder if you could, it might be better if it was actually a long sleeved or 3/4 length top, because I think that would look really nice as well. I liked having the cables because it makes the sort of waist cinch in a little bit, and it is quite flattering for a relatively thick material jump. Well, it's thick to me. I don't normally knit anything thicker than DK, to be honest. And the back has got lots of cables on as well, all the way down. But can you spot the mistake? I wonder if you can see it on the screen. I can see it. I forgot this cable here should go round the other way, and it really is blatantly obvious, but I got to really right the way nearly to the top before I realised. I was so cross, but I thought, I'll just leave it. But actually, I have more recently seen a little tutorial by Suzanne Bryan, which actually shows you how to retrospectively go back and switch cables round, which is amazing. I shall pop a link to that below. It looks so interesting. I've not actually tried it. Maybe I should try it on this jumper. Now that it's done though, and it's on the back, I've not been too bothered about it. So there we are. So I think I might actually go back and do this in a longer sleeve version, because I think it would be really wearable, especially with the shirt collar underneath it. I just need to make an effort to make things to go with items that I've already made, so that I make sure that I wear them all the time. This is the key. I need to take some of my own advice, I think. Anyway, thank you ever so much, Barbara, and hopefully we'll see you wearing some proper dressmaking next time. Well, as long as I get my quilt sorted by the weekend. Anyway, thank you, Barbara. So we've got the gadget for this week. Now you're going to laugh at me. This is my gadget. It's a grabby thing. I picked it up from Poundland. I was so chuffed because I think that same day I was fiddling around with my squares for my my quilt, and I don't have a wall where I can pin the blocks up to see where I'm going to arrange them. So I was arranging them on the floor, but having to sort of bend down and lean right over to the centre of the blocks and move it a little bit or swap them round and then get back up. So it's not very good for your back. And I saw this and I thought, brilliant. I can grab the quilt blocks and move them around and then sort of be able to sort of stand at a distance to see what colours would go nicely where. And this was £1 from Poundland. I couldn't believe it. So hopefully you guys have got access to a Poundland, because you need one of these for £1. I couldn't believe it. So we were going around the Poundland and I was kept picking everything up with the grabby thing, and Adam was getting rather embarrassed of me. So there we go, that's my gadget for this week. I hope you can pick up one too if you're into quilting or not, because I think that that is so useful and saves your back, because it makes a difference being able to stand away from the colours that you're trying to put together. But there we go. I forgot to say actually, I'm wearing my kimono, and this is a sew over it pattern, and I knitted it. I sewed it out of some Crepe de Chine fabric. So it's a crepe fabric, but it's quite a lightweight, soft, and it's got like a nice soft smooth texture to the material. And this is the shorter version of the kimono. I really like this actually. It's a nice cover up to put over a t-shirt, just makes it look slightly more dressy. I was contemplating whether I needed to make the sleeves just a little bit shorter. I'm not sure if that would be slightly more flattering. What do you think? I was thinking about doing it to about there. I don't know. I think I showed you some fabric on the last episode, which I'm going to make a longer version, and I think the longer version will be better with this length sleeve anyway, so hopefully I'll actually get that done at some point soon as well. So we just got 2 sections left. I've got the confessions, and I'm going to talk about my shop update. So if you're not interested in listening to all the naughty things that I've been purchasing, you're very welcome to go and do lots of other crafty goodness and not listen to me ranting on. So I shall talk about my confessions. So first of all, I was in Morrison's the other day. We don't normally shop at Morrison's actually, but funnily enough, I just popped to Morrison's and I saw this Christmas cross-stitch book. Absolutely love the idea of some of these patterns, so I shall show you some of the things that I wanted to actually do for Christmas. So normally I'll pick up a magazine, there'll only be 1 or 2 things that I want to make, but in this magazine there's like 4 things. So they've got these cute little cards that you could stitch, and I'd probably not do them as Christmas cards, but a sort of a little wall hanging to go on the wall. And there's some really good, I can't actually show you that because it's the cross stitch pattern. There we go. There's a little robin there that I thought was really sweet, so I wanted to do that. And then there's some little scenes. I don't know whether I'll get round to doing any of these because these are quite detailed, but there's some little Christmas scenes there which I thought were really pretty. And there's a nice picture that I thought was lovely. I wouldn't necessarily do the whole of this, but again, that little skate and the robin on this side, I'd probably take a little aspect out and use it for a little something to hang on the Christmas tree. Oh, and there was also these cute little gnomes. So this is called Cross Stitch Favourites, or Christmas Cross Stitch Favourites, and it's just the Xmas 2018 version if you're after that, and I just found it in Morrison's, so you should be able to get hold of it, I should imagine. I don't know how long they've been out. I was a bit surprised how early Christmas things came into the shop already. There's really cute little Christmassy houses as well, which is rather lovely. I don't know whether I'd do that, but there are so many little Christmas, tiny little small cross stitch ones. I'm just trying to find some pictures that I can show you because a lot of it is the actual chart, so there's some examples of what's in here as well. I need to actually get on with more of my cross stitch that I've got on the go. I have actually done some since the last episode, but I haven't done enough to be able to show you any decent progress. So, oh, this is a good summary page of the things that are in the magazine. So there was quite a few in there, so I thought I'd treat myself, even though it was £5. Magazines at £5 seem quite expensive to me, but I do buy the odd one if there's at least 2 or 3 things in there that I like. So that's Christmas craft along things sorted. So now I'm going to talk about the fabrics that I've bought from Minerva Crafts, which is a bit naughty. They're all destined for particular outfits. So I'd been looking at my pattern stash and I really wanted to make a pair of carry trousers, which are a summery drapey pair of trousers, which is just coming out of the season really, but I just thought I'd buy the fabric because I had it in my head. And I thought, well, I want to stick to the things that I'd actually wear. And for trousers, I tend to wear plain things. So I looked on Minerva Crafts for a nice viscose that was a nice plain colour, and I love this sort of petrol blue teal colour. This one is a viscose in a twill weave, and you can just about see the twill weave on there. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera. This is a bit creased because I have washed all these, and I always wash them before I pop them in my stash, because when I'm ready to sew they're just ready then. So that's a nice drapey viscose fabric, and I also picked up a nice viscose crepe in a very crinkly texture, and this will basically mean that if I take them on holiday or anything, I don't have to iron them. We'll see. Mum always says that crepe that's crinkle crepe shrinks a lot, but I think this is just through bad experiences of when she's bought garments from, I don't know, goodness knows where. But I have washed it and it doesn't appear to have shrunk, so I should be okay. So this one will be another pair of carry trousers, and that's in a navy. I will link these fabrics below if you're interested in getting some. I also picked up some patterned yarn from some carry trousers, but I've decided that I don't really like the idea of it now. So this is the print that I got, and this is another viscose. And actually there, it looks sort of dark enough to wear as trousers, but if you look at it in real life, it just looks a bit white to me. I don't know. I'm not so keen on it. Maybe if they were made up into trousers, I'd change my mind. We'll see. They're only, actually, all these fabrics are really, really cheap. But they seem reasonable quality. So I think Minerva Crafts seem to be quite good with that. So they do some quite low priced fabrics that are actually good value. Especially I think you can get a better deal with viscose fabrics. So there we go. I don't know whether this will be carry trousers or not, or whether my mum says she likes it, so she might nick it for something. Not that she sews, she gets me to sew it for her. And then lastly, I also picked up some of the crinkle crepe in red. Now I thought that this would be lovely to try out the Charlotte dress if I sew over it. I seem to be so over it mad lately. So over it I'm wearing. Anyway. So I've been wanting to make the Charlotte dress, and I was a bit concerned about the fabric costing me a lot, especially when I wasn't sure whether it was going to look good. And this fabric was like £2.99 a metre, and I needed 4 metres for the Charlotte dress. The red one that Lisa had already made and showed on the pattern envelope, it just looked gorgeous. I know it wasn't crepe, but I thought I'll have a go with this and just see how it fits. And I love red. Whether it really suits me or not, I don't know. But we'll see, and it'll be a good practice anyway to see whether that dress fits. It's sort of a wearable muslin, but I will obviously adapt it to my size on the paper pieces before I actually cut it out and things. But at least I'll not have cut into really expensive fabric when I actually make it up. And I like doing a wearable muslin anyway, just because sometimes it's nice to be able to see it in a fabric that you kind of like, and then you can wear it if it does come out okay. So I think that's all I've bought. Yes, I haven't been too bad. I think all those came to about £40 something because I bought quite a few metres of some of them, but yes, hopefully get some of those done after I've done my quilt. And lastly, I've just got my shop update stuff to talk about. So I think I've decided that instead of doing a shop update at 7 o'clock on a Friday, I'm actually going to do at 10 o'clock on a Friday, just because if people want to purchase it as and when the shop update goes live, I can then post some stuff Friday afternoon so that people don't have to wait all the way till Monday until I get to the post office, because quite often I don't get to the post office on a Saturday and it's only open half day in my local area. So So I shall be doing that, and I'm going to do a shop update every week now. So I will be putting pictures on Instagram of the things I'll be popping in the shop, and where I can I'll show it on the podcast as well, because we're coming up to Christmas and I think it's nice to keep well stocked so that people can find the things they want to. If you can see that there's no stock of something that you wanted to order, just send me a message and I'll get some dyed up or made up for you. For the next update, or as a private order for a custom order if you'd like to. So yeah, if you think you want to order like a particular thing, which then you're not 100% want to commit yourself into actually purchasing it, just say to me, Ellie, I was thinking about getting such and such a colourway of yarn, and I'll just make sure that it's there for the next update, and then you can make your mind up, if that makes sense. So there we go. So I've got a couple of new colourways. So I've actually dyed up a new Christmas colourway. It's Jingle Bell Rock. So I thought this was hilarious because the song Jingle Bell Rock, but then there's a Sweetie Rock, and then you've got a candy cane. So it's like micro-striped, cream, natural cream, and then the red, and then I've included a little mini there. And because it's so funny, my little joke about Jingle Bell Rock, I am including a little candy cane progress keeper with a bell. Jingle Bell Rock. Oh dear. Oh no, I find it funny anyway. I'm going to be casting some of these on, I think next month or so. But I think that will look lovely. So I've actually been dyeing these in a sparkle base, which is merino, nylon and stellina, as well as a BFL, which is 80% BFL, 20% nylon, and my normal merino nylon base, which is 75-25. So they're in the 3 different bases on there, and it gives you the option to choose just this skein, the mini and the large skein, or the charm mini and large skein. So it's up to you really, just so that you're not restricted to having the whole set. I have got some of the other Christmas colourways that I previously bought out, the Merry Christmas Everyone and also Walking in the Air, and they're both on the 3 bases and they're well stocked in the shop right now. So in terms of the shop update this week, what I've basically done is just the stuff is already in the shop as this podcast goes up, and I shall just top it up when I've dyed some more, just to keep everything topped up for this week. But in future everything will be 10 o'clock on a Friday every week. So I've also decided to modify some colourways a bit. So I used to dye Where the Wild Roses Grow like this, like quite a pale colourway with little speckles of pink and green and purple in there. But recently I'd adapted it to be quite a dark colourway like this. So I decided actually to include both of these colourways now. So I'm keeping this one as Where the Wild Roses Grow, which is the darker one. And I'm renaming the version that I dyed to start with Bed of Roses, after the Bon Jovi song, and this one is definitely like a lighter speckled. And I know that my friend Elaine had knitted a lovely blanket with hers with a lovely pale blue, and this is the version that she'd picked up, so I definitely I'm going to keep the 2 now. So this one's Bed of Roses and this is Where the Wild Roses Grow. I'm not sure if the colour's coming up very accurately on screen, but I will pop a picture up if not, because pink doesn't pick up very well on my camera for some strange reason. I was in a very light and speckly mood, so I've also designed a new colourway, and this is called Sweet Dreams, and this has got blue, yellow, pink and green little pale speckles in there, and there's an optional blue mini in there, and this is Mr. Blue Skies. I will have some of these larger skeins in the shop at some point next week, but they're not in the shop as yet. And you know who you are. Helped me decide on what to call that one. So there we go, that's my Sweet Dreams colourway. That's Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics. I have, I'm just starting to lose my voice today. Oh dear. So this colourway here is called Summer Rain, and I'm not sure, after this batch is gone, I might not be dyeing it exactly the same again anyway, just because I actually didn't write down the recipe properly, so we'll see. And this is a slightly different base. I've never had this base before in the shop, but it's a 85% merino and 15% Donegal nep, so you get this gorgeous little texture there. And it's micro striping, like a blue colour with the natural colour of the yarn, and the mini is the same colour as the natural colour of the yarn as well. And this is called Summer Rain, and it's after the Belinda Carlisle song, because that just reminded me of a bit of drizzly rain there with the sort of neps going on. And then I've designed, this is quite dark for me actually. I'm trying to go for some darker colourways as well as some light ones. And this one is going to be called Teenage Dirtbag. Who was the band who sang that? I've forgotten. Alexa, who sang Teenage Dirtbag?
Teenage Dirtbag is by Wheatus.
Wheatus, that was it. So this is a nice 2 different shades of grey, and then we've got little speckles of teal and pink, and in some areas you get a little bit of purple there because the colours have mixed nicely. So that one's Teenage Dirtbag. Oh, I think I fancy knitting myself a shawl out of this. I think that would go lovely because I quite like wearing quite dark clothes, you see, because it's more flattering for me. I need to worry more about things being flattering. And then I've got some autumn kits. And this is my new autumn pumpkin bag that I've designed, and it's got 3 little pumpkins on that I've appliqued, and then I've free motion stitched some little stems, vines there, and then on the back I've stitched my Craft House Magic and then done a little pumpkin on the back as well. And these are drawstring ones, and they've got a sort of pumpkin-y colour on the inside with 2 nice big pockets there. And again, this style that I've been taking to recently, actually you can put pin badges on the back of the bag and it not interfere with your work because of those 2 big pockets that go right the way across the back of the bag. The yarn that I've dyed up to go with it is called Pumpkin Patch, and it's a brown and orange, and there's very hints of yellow in there as well for the main skein. And then we've got a little mini skein of this cute little green colour to sort of represent the vines. And this kit, if you buy the set, comes with these little progress keepers as well, which I thought were absolutely adorable. Little pumpkins there. Hopefully you can see those. There we go. And they're double-sided, these. I do love double-sided charms. You see my little cardboard cutout. And that's how it looks with something in. It's only got 1 skein in there. It looks nicer when it's actually squashed out with all the lovely squishy yarn. So there we go. And with these drawstring bags you can always turn them down as well, which I really like because you can see the contrast fabric on the outside. So those kits are in the shop already. I'm actually doing them as a sort of a pre-order. I have the pieces sort of cut out, but and then I'm making them as I go, so sometimes it'll take a couple of days for me to ship them out to you, but not too long. I like to keep on top of my orders. What I have done, actually, I hadn't had the bags just on their own in the shop, but after the podcast I'm going to do it so that you can purchase just the bag on its own if you want to. I've already got the kit all together and the yarn separately, and you can actually buy either the yarn singly or the mini as well, so you don't have to buy the mini if you don't want to. So you just get the option really of not having to buy the whole kit. And if you do want a larger bag version of this, just drop me a message and I can make one up for you as well. But there we go. So I've also got some sort of 12 days of Christmas kits that I've put up for pre-order on my Etsy shop, and I've called it, now that's what I call yarn. And if anybody knows about, well, I suppose they still do them, it's just that I remember them from my childhood quite a lot, those album compilations, and they're called Now That's What I Call Music, and that's why it's called Now That's What I Call Yarn. And what it's going to be is 12 20-gram mini skeins, and it'll be basically so that you can open them, one for each of the 12 days of Christmas, or alternatively you can open one every other day on the sort of Advent, which gives you, well, if you've got 12 and there's 24 days of Advent, if you open one every other day, that should, you know, it's plenty to keep you going, 20 grams. What I'm doing is the theme of 80s songs from Christmas time, that are in the top 10. So there'll be a little mini skein all packaged up individually, with a little tag to tell you what song that it was inspired by, and what year it was in the top 10 at Christmas. So that'll be quite nice, and I'm going to include a couple of little bits and pieces in there, a little bit extra, and those are up on my Etsy shop for pre-order, and they'll be going out at the end of September, so you've got plenty of time to get them shipped to America especially. So I think that's all the things that I've got for my shop. Thank you so much for staying till the end and listening to me rambling on about what I've been dyeing up and having fun with. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you in the next couple of weeks. So next week, watch out for my little tutorial video on the owl, and I'll see you later. Bye!